Namaste. We weren't exactly in mid-sentence, but we did sort of leave a discussion incomplete. We tend to do that, segment by segment. Tonight we'll go a little farther, primarily in Sri Aurobindo's chapter, Rebirth in Other Worlds. But let's begin with a quotation from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, section 6, verses 11 and 12. The one Godhead, secret in all beings, all-pervading, the inner self of all, presiding over all action, witness, conscious knower, and absolute. The one in control, Eko Vashi, over the many who are passive to nature, fashions one seed, Ekam Bijam, in many ways. Vedanta. Verily, Upanishad. So, let's recall where we were last time. We discussed that the psychic, the incarnating soul, as it leaves the earth scene, drops attachments and unneeded weight, old associations, the things that would prevent it from a quick departure. It has to wean itself from, in its ascent, from plane to plane, until finally it reaches a felicitous chamber in the pure world of the soul. There, it digests what has been, firms up its next conception of what it's to do, and prepares for rebirth. The lessons captured from before remain, and may be used again, but in fresh forms. Our partnership with the inner powers and those which govern the outer shaping of the universe funnel supernal ideas towards the earth, so that generally we can attempt to make them concrete in our lives. That's important for the entire universe, that we be able to do that. This is the conversation the universe is having within itself, and spoken through the words, the lives, the actions of the incarnating souls upon earth as they evolve. What cosmic powers we are in concert with, behind and above, impacts and helps us shape our surface personality, even the outer dimensions of that. Apart from what is the soul personality, itself an extension of the psychic reality, the essence, the entity, the psychic being. And the psychic being, as we've already seen, is a figuring in time of what is the eternal self. Back to that opening passage from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad there. So, we're dead, we're above, as we like to say, and assimilation in those fields has to be completed before we can re-engage and undertake rebirth into circumstances that are appropriate to the next task of growth. None of this is, of course, visible to the outer eyes and face. None of this is penetrable to the philosophies of humankind. They guess, they wonder, they have different versions of what happens afterwards. And really, there isn't an absolute standard by which all follow. There is a general way in which we go, recover, and grow again. So we like to say, from our comparison with the Taittiriya Upanishad and its declaration of what the planes of being are, that the soul passes, to quote Sri Aurobindo, progressively through subtle physical, vital, and mental worlds to the psychic dwelling place from which it would return to its terrestrial pilgrimage. And there's this continuum. We rise to rest, we restore ourselves, we come back for another inning of work. And that work is not simply our personal development, but again, has reaches into culture, into fields of beauty, into cosmic advance. So birth and death are connecting points on an expansive continuum, an exploration of cosmic existence across epochs and ages by an unslayable soul who individually represents the Great Spirit. Learning, changing, modifying, breathing in real solidarity with the cosmic will. And I think what I'm aiming at there is that we're in deep conspiracy, to breathe together, to conspire, conspire in Latin. We're in conspiracy with the Divine Mother, if you will, to come here and try this one this time. We have her permission, we have her encouragement, and so we come. We're apt, eager, avid for the adventure. So such an exploration requires many enriching births to reach the human stage, and even more to vault beyond it, to complete the human cycle, if you will, and to arrive at that posture above where one lives in full spiritual recognition of the supreme truth, is a master of wisdom, and able to freely deport itself in the cosmic context, assume a body, a life, a mind, and have it adapt itself to the need of the divine in that moment, in that auspicious moment. Truly, that is Brahma Muhurta, the hour of God, when we live from that vast consciousness. A lot of growth. Yoga is a powerful tool for deliberate advance. It's an accelerator. Tonight we're talking about rebirth, what it is that we do when we come back. That's our context. And rebirth is a cosmic and an individual necessity to achieve general, universal, and personal fulfillment. It is necessary for the soul to come back again. Otherwise, the universe, which has spent so much ordering the life and the circumstances of this person, to have it wiped out, utterly expunged, would be a loss for all of us and for the cosmos itself. And anything born from the transcendent is, in its essence, immortal, cannot pass away. Eternity is beyond time, past, present, future. Immortality is that which is indestructibly moving through the passages of time. And that describes the nature of our soul better. So, the three terms of existence we know very well: the transcendent, the universal, the individual, are folded by design into this entire enterprise as directed and envisioned by the Chit Shakti, the divine will. Each plane, each step on the ladder of existence, is a realm of self-founded freedom. It exists in its pure domain without interference from others, and yet the gradation of the worlds is real, and they all influence us, and they all are congregant. They work together. Where do they work together best? Here on earth. All of them, all of those planes, as evolving powers, converge in the precious human body. And the discernible arc, as we look at the vast span of time over which we grow, points where evolution can take us. We grow from matter into life. Matter begins to live. Matter not only lives but begins to think, to conceive, to understand, to aspire. And now the arc points towards the beyond. Beyond the mind. Beyond the relative knowledge that visits the human intelligence and then abandons it. We grow increasingly sovereign in the conduct of our spiritual development. As we get traction, you might say, and can direct through difficult circumstances the course of our evolution and move unshakably towards our goal, we begin to master the forms that once mastered us. We are no longer slaves to our body or our appetites or anything else. They all begin to serve us. What does this sound like? Just like meditation. At first, when you sit for meditation, you are deluged with thoughts. Oh, you can't sit still. The body wants to squirm. Your breath won't be regular. Your emotions become alive. Your thoughts are unnumbered. But everything, if you stay concentrated, stay with the theme of your meditation, you begin to penetrate and go deeper and deeper into the folds of your own consciousness, which also are the folds of the universal consciousness, and penetrate something behind all of that and move towards oneness. And as you so move, everything begins to work for you. The body no longer resists. The life impulses do not distract or pull at you. The mind says, I surrender, let me be blank. Go towards that light, and you wind up in that state of samadhi, where you become one with that, whatever that is to you. If it's that, an impersonality, or the mother of all forms, or a name that is familiar to you. But just so, this happens as we begin to master the process of life. This mastery in meditation begins to articulate itself deliberately in life, so that your life breathes with this spirit, aspires, and you are led down a more auspicious path at a faster rate, because all of you is behind it. It takes time to season a body, to round out and make robust the life force that will energize it, and to illuminate it with ideas that are cognate with what your deepest intention is. But this is true for the conquest of the human spirit. It is also true for all forms of life, not just human. All of us here are partners and collaborators in growth. Yes, there's plenty of destruction. One thing eats another. The eater eating is eaten. The great passage from the Taittiriya. And yet, we are part of a single picture, one self in innumerable forms. So, our understanding of it is that what we do here is an action that will have a consequence. It is a karma that will bring a fruit, but karma is not a punishment for errors. Far from that. It is part of the cosmic equipment, part of the fuel. Karma is a principal tool for the soul's growth. It's the scaffolding and the machinery. The soul gives the real direction and impetus, not karma. Karma is not the boss. It's responding, if we're looking at the fruit of our action, it's responding to what we've done. We need to learn what it means. We do something, we need to learn what it delivers to us. Having ordered from the universal menu, we consume and then digest the requested meal, deriving from it eventual discrimination and wisdom and a kind of spiritual nutrition. Of course, karma is something that is punctuated at the end of our life. We die as we have lived. There is not, for most people, something revelatory in the last moments of life. One may feel disappointed by that, and deaths are different. The loss of the form, the loss of the moment are, of course, poignant. Death is not a defeat. And when we go and digest what we've done and learned our lesson and prepared for the next step, rebirth is not a fall or a sign of defeat. It opens a new chapter to embrace a fresh advance. The purpose of one life isn't to wind up in a glorious afterlife from which we never return. The purpose is to recycle our intent, improve upon it, come back with fresh energy, better ideas, more determination, and allow the soul to work through the instrument more and more clearly and cleanly. So, the spirit, as the psyche evolving here, and what we describe as the psychic being, and presenting itself in the soul personality, does not mean that the instrumental personality is what is immortal. The timeless eternity of the self, as it were, stations itself in the immortal psyche. The instrument at all levels is ordinarily recycled in the industry of nature. For most of us, the mind to which we're attached, the emotional being which was ours, our beloved emotions, and the physical obviously is dissolving already the moment we go. But all of these energies and forms of being have in a sense to be repurposed by nature. They can't be wasted. And yet, we might talk about this another time, if they have permitted the presence of the psyche inside into their rooms and become identified with this psychic being representing the large spirit, they may take on a kind of further utility and remain as usable instruments, adaptable, capable of being refashioned according to the new needs of the incarnating soul as it comes back from above. So sometimes that will be true. Typically it is true at the end of a long course of development, as someone is becoming, if you like these terms, a sort of a master soul or a realized being. But if we stuck with the same equipment that we had in the previous life, same personality with the same constituent elements, we would simply be repeating already learned lessons. We would not be breaking fresh ground. So, nevertheless, when we leave the body, obviously, the physical begins to decay and the subtler shapes persist for a bit. And this is something we'll talk about on another occasion. But the essential elements are stored away. Some which have a kind of kinship and affinity with the psyche may be repurposed more quickly, some not. Because remember, there is a freedom in what we do, birth to birth. It is not a linear development. A next incarnation may contradict the last. No problem. And a blend of many capacities attained over stadia of lives underscores how rich the soul's development is. You will have more and more arrows in your quiver. And as your earthly personality becomes adept, it will be able to express many, many, many things. How boring always to have the same monotone of face. But one ought to be adaptable in every situation. Think of the mother. It has been aptly said of her that no two photographs are alike. She was different at every moment. Multitudinous individual with a capital I. On the other hand, Sri Aurobindo looked like the magnificent range of the Himalayas, unblinking, except when you read his poetry or read his letters, you see how convivial he was, how humorous he was, and that he was capable of all human emotions and identifying with all forms of beings, with walls, with chairs, with ants, with cats. Fur-footed Brahman. So, remembering past lives, I guess, is another thing that comes up when we talk about these things. Why don't we remember it? It isn't necessary or even desirable to remember on the surface. It just gets in your way. You keep thinking what I did yesterday instead of what shall I do now and lean into tomorrow. In the depths, the psyche contains and retains all the digested experience, the rasa, the sap of all that's been done. So we are actually well served by our superficial forgetfulness. It's a good thing that we don't remember. Even in this life, you don't remember most of what's happened. It would be in your way if you were always going back to when you were 3 years old. When you asked what is God and did not get a sufficient answer. So the subliminal storehouse that we keep is locked and blocked from the surface view. But it's there. And the psyche draws upon it. And you will find often in the development of a soul's life on earth, there is a sudden eruption from above, from behind, not eruption, when suddenly something manifests and that being will never be the same again. They seem to be going along just an ordinary way, and then suddenly they have become extraordinary because they are colossal inside. And something firmed up, something shaped up in the being, the circumstances were auspicious, and now it comes forward. But also remember how playful Krishna can be. Not always does he show you how profound he is. Sometimes he shows you how mischievous he must be in order to tease you out of your complacency and drive you into a new discovery. So the self deposited in us is eternal. The psychic entity, its representative, stands as the spiritual individuality in us and is our real person here. The inner person, Antaratman. Now, if we confuse ourselves with the mind and think that, oh, we're mental beings, or with the heart and think we're vital beings, then the Manomaya Purusha or Pranamaya Purusha would be so fused and confusing to us that we could not respond to the demand of the infinite as expressed by the cosmic will. So our growth means that we must understand what they are, identify with them so long as it is necessary, then detach from them, and continue to develop dexterity and flexibility in our actions upon earth, and so on. Mind and life have to reflect the soul in manifestation. That's our first business. They can, in potentiality, share the immortality of the psyche, as we mentioned. But the body has to dissolve. We wear it out. Its possibilities are limited. The circumstances on earth no longer suit what this particular soul wants to achieve. The body has to meet its end. And material causes are not at the root of death. Death comes because it is spiritually necessary to evolve. Now, future victories, there may be. to bring all three together, what Sri Aurobindo describes as the immortality of the nature, completing the essential immortality of the spirit, along with the psychic survival of death, all of them together. But the truest immortality is ever and anon the eternity of the spirit, the Atman, Brahman, expressed here as the spark of the soul in the cosmos. That which secretly, and looking like it's small, is the spark of what actually ignites the cosmic fire and drives it forward. In that next chapter, Beyond Rebirth, Man and the Evolution, his opening sentence restates everything. A spiritual evolution, an evolution of consciousness in matter, is a constant developing self-formation till the form can reveal the indwelling spirit, is then the keynote, the central, significant motive of the terrestrial existence. That's on page 856. So, involution conceals and veils all we are. Evolution reveals and unveils all we are. Our personality must grow like the triple stride of Vishnu and express all the vast powers of the real person inside us. The person, the cosmos, the transcendent. Our vehicle, body, life, mind, and what may be beyond, must be well forged, strong, plastic, filled with light. I think it's far enough at this time, so we'll read, if I can find it, a passage from Savitri. I think I'd like to begin in Book 1, Canto 3, The Yoga of the Soul's Release. I think I found it. It's on page 29. Oh, about halfway down. In the unceasing drama carried by time, on its long listening flood that bears the world's insoluble doubt on a pilgrimage without goal, a laughter of sleepless pleasure foamed and spumed, and murmurings of desire that cannot die. A cry came of the world's delight to be, the grandeur and greatness of its will to live, recall of the soul's adventure into space, a traveler through the magic centuries, and being's labor in matter's universe. Its search for the mystic meaning of its birth and joy of high spiritual response. Its throb of satisfaction and content and all the sweetness of the gifts of life. Its large breath and pulse and thrill of hope and fear. Its taste of pangs and tears and ecstasy. Its rapture's poignant beat of sudden bliss. The sob of its passion and unending pain. The murmur and whisper of the unheard sounds which crowd around our hearts but find no window to enter, swelled into a canticle of all that suffers to be still unknown, and all that labors vainly to be born, and all the sweetness none will ever taste, and all the beauty that will never be. Inaudible to our deaf mortal ears, the wide world rhythms wove their stupendous chant, to which life strives to fit our rhyme beats here, melting our limits in the illimitable, tuning the finite to infinity. A low muttering rose from the subconscient caves, the stammer of the primal ignorance. Answer to that inarticulate questioning. There stooped with lightning neck and thunder's wings a radiant hymn to the inexpressible and the anthem of the superconscient light. All was revealed there, none can here express. Vision and dream were fables spoken by truth, or symbols more veridical than fact, or were truths enforced by supernatural seals. Immortal eyes approached and looked in his, and beings of many kingdoms neared and spoke. The ever-living, whom we name as dead, could leave their glory beyond death and birth to utter the wisdom which exceeds all phrase. The kings of evil and the kings of good, appellants at the reason's judgment seat, proclaimed the gospel of their opposites, and all believed themselves spokesmen of God. The gods of light and titans of the dark battled for his soul as for a costly prize. In every hour loosed from the quiver of time, there rose a song of new discovery, a bow twang's hum of young experiment. Each day was a spiritual romance, as if he was born into a bright new world. Adventure leaped an unexpected friend, and danger brought a keen, sweet tang of joy. Each happening was a deep experience. Let us pause there. Oh my goodness, the faces that I see look so glum. I thought it was a wonderful passage. Please be beatific and carry that beatitude out into the world, or at least into the next room with you. Listen, we in Pensacola send much love to you there, wherever you are. Be well, be true. Namaste. Jai Ma. Hope to see you soon.